Hey, and welcome into Vinny Rottino Baseball Academy. This is the channel where we are breaking down players. We are talking about some swing instruction. Go ahead and send me the videos of your swings or your kids' swings, and I can go ahead and give some instruction virtually, and we'll break it down. So please send those to Vinny Rottino Baseball Academy at gmail.com. That'd be the best way to get that to me. We're also taking a look at some prospects around the area and around the country, but today we're going to go ahead and take a look at some a swing of a talented player, a talented athlete, 9-year-old kid, Max Schultz. And we're going to go ahead and look at his swing and see if we can help out with a couple of tips. But before I do that, I do want to mention that the channel is brought to you by Maggie Rottino Real Estate. My wife, Maggie Rottino, and her brother, Ricky Kuiper, have teamed up, and they do a great job with all the real estate needs for their clients here in southeastern Wisconsin. So if you are in the market to buy or sell, make sure you are reaching out to my wife, Maggie, or her brother, Ricky. Maggie Rottino and Ricky Kuiper, the names for real estate in southeastern Wisconsin. The channel is also brought to you by Locked On Brewers Podcast. Dom Catronio and I have been teaming up, talking about the Brewers, breaking things down, all things Milwaukee Brewers. It's been an absolute blast. We get guests on the show. We talk about all the transactions. We break things down. We get in the weeds a little bit. We get in depth, which we love to do, but it's a lot of fun, and a lot of our listeners definitely like to listen in. So make sure you subscribe to Locked On Brewers Podcast and get all your Brewers needs there. Also, make sure you subscribe to this channel. It helps me out. Just helps me out. Appreciate it. So anyway, let's go ahead and break it down. Let's get into Max Schultz a little bit here, and I'm going to share the screen. We have a video of his swing off the tee, and I'm going to compare it to Miguel Cabrera, and I'm going to tell you why in a minute. But let's look at his swing just full speed here. Okay. Let's go ahead and turn the volume down. Athletic kid, you can tell this kid is strong. 9-year-old kid. He is strong. He's quick. He's a very quick mover rotationally. And I think there's a couple ways that we can help him really take a step in his game. I know his dad reached out to me. Adam, great dude, great friend of mine, went to St. Catharines together back in 1998. We graduated together, but he's been a good friend over the years. And here is his 9-year-old son, Max. And clearly he's a good athlete. Can tell how he moves and moves rotationally. And he clearly has some hand-eye coordination to barrel up the baseball. It's even if it's off the tee, it's not an easy task to do. But I definitely think that there's a way that we can help him out. I'm going to show you guys how. If there's a player that you're working with that has a similar move to this one. So let's take a look at it again. Okay. All right. So now what we're going to see here is we're going to see at heel plant where he's at. We always like to look at where players are at heel plant. So as Max moves back, he moves his lower half extremely well in an athletic way, right? So he gathers back. We talk about this, gathers back, and he gets into that back heel a little bit, and then he goes back to center. And as he does, this is a subtle move that a lot of players kind of do naturally, but it gets coached out of them, to be honest. And I would never lose this with Max here. So that back leg gets into an externally rotated position. Now, what does that mean? That means he's pushing his knee back this way. Okay. And what that's doing is that is really getting that pressure and that force into that back heel. Okay. And he's doing this move naturally. Okay. You would never really teach a 9-year-old kid or even mention this to a 9-year-old player just because it's just way too far into the weeds. But he's doing a great job of doing that. And again, how I equate this is if I were to throw a medicine ball as hard as I could forward, your lower half would work very similarly to that, right? You would gather back, and then that back knee would rotate, and that back hip would rotate externally. What do I mean by that again is pushing. See how I'm pushing the cursor this way? It would push that way. Your knee would actually move that way, behind you a little bit. So anyway, that is going to get you to this really strong and athletic position. He's got both heels on the ground. It's a fantastic, outstanding position that he's in with his lower half right here. All right, so let's look at Miguel Cabrera, what he does and where he gets to with his lower half. And right here, I'm just drawing a couple of lines to show that he's basically, his upper body is in between, and he's at 50-50 at this point, pretty much. He's probably at like 52-48 or something, maybe slightly behind center, which is perfect. Okay, so at Miguel Cabrera, we're going to back that up. He gets into a similar position where he is at that 50-50 position. So he gathered back, and then he went back to forward. That is such a key thing that I talk about a lot. All right, so now from here, I want to take a look at the hand position and where he's at, where Max is at, okay? So first of all, his shoulders, and we're going to illustrate this later with a couple of lines, but his shoulders are pointed and rotated too deep behind the baseball. As you can see, Miguel Cabrera is a little more square. His shoulders are probably pointed just not to this, maybe to the second baseman at this point, whereas Max's are pointed into the, first base dugout, right? So it's an over rotation of the shoulders. And then I'm showing here how his arm bars out, right? His arm is barred out. It's straight. Whereas Miguel Cabrera, as you can see, there's a little bit of bend in that front arm. Okay. So what does that do? What I say to players is that we want to keep our hands as tight as we can to our body. 9-year-old players, right? Young players, that we're not going to get too complicated about things. So what I want to tell them to do, and right here, I'm drawing that line to show where his shoulder is pointed. Again, it's probably towards that dugout, whereas Miguel Cabrera's is pointed probably towards that second baseman, maybe a little left of the second baseman. But so here's Max again, that straight arm, and this line illustrates how far his hands are from the center of his body, whereas Miguel Cabrera's, look how tight and close his hands are to the center of his body. So similar to a boxer throwing a haymaker, right? Or a kid on the playground getting in a fight and really just kind of wailing away and throwing wild punches. That's similar to what we're seeing here. We don't want that. We want that short, tight, a boxer throws that short, tight, close to his body punches. And it's a similar move where we want Max to get. And I think if he gets there, my goodness, he's going to be able to hit, right? You can see how strong he is. You can see, he rotates really well. The lower half, again, works phenomenally. This is very hard to teach, and he does that very naturally. So really all we want to do is tell Max, let's go ahead and get those hands a lot closer to our body. Another way you can illustrate this is when a ice skater, a figure skater, really spins fast. They got their hands real close to the body, right? That's going to create a lot of force here. And then when they get them further away from their body, that's slower. So you can kind of illustrate that same thing with that. You can also just kind of tell them, okay, push against my hand. And you can have the player have their hands away from their body, further away from their body, and tell them to push as hard as they can against your hands. Then have them real close to their body and say, okay, now push against my hands. They're going to feel so much stronger when they're in tight. And hopefully those feels will get them to understand where their hands need to be. And again, look at how close and tight Miguel Cabrera. I use Miguel Cabrera here as an example because he's one of the shortest swings in the game. Let's take a look at that again with how short and quick that path is for Miguel Cabrera. It's like from here to there, bam. And so that's what we're looking at there. One more time here with Max. And then with Miguel, look how short and tight and close to his body those hands travel. And then once they make contact with the ball, he extends through it. So that's what we got with Max. Really appreciate the send in, Schultz, Adam. And send me an update on Max and let's see if he can go ahead and implement that. I love how his lower half works, and I think he's got a really bright future in the game. Looks like he loves to play. And yeah, can't wait to watch him develop. So Thanks for tuning in, everybody, and we will see you guys next time.